Good morning, everyone. On at least here where I live, it's cool and wet. That's nice. Foggy. We're turning towards the wheel of life, which is the ground out of which the Jataka tales and the Jataka tales, which we've been studying, and the six realms arise. So I want to say we're going to do this for about a month, and we'll spend most of the time from now on each of the six realms. But I wanted to give us a background of the Wheel of Life, and I started some on Tuesday, so I'm going to repeat some of that here and then go a little further with that. And I wonder, Debbie, I didn't ask you this. Is it possible to do a split screen so that the it could be up on half the screen and we could see each other on the other half? Is that
It probably is. I don't know if I know how to do it.
okay? Let's just then, for just a moment, could you put up the Wheel of Life just so if people don't know
Hmm.
what I'm talking about, you have at least you can let it, feel it in your body, just be with it for a moment, then we'll take it down and I'll say some things and then we'll put it back up when I more specifically turn towards.
Okay, but I'll find out how to do that. I don't think it's very difficult.
Great, thank you for helping me with this.
Well, I have it sort of split. If you minimize the Zoom window,
Mm-hmm.
because the way it's showing up now is I've got a window on the left with the screen share, but
Good.
I have the
Let's
little
do
strip
that.
of people on the right. Is that what you have?
Sure. Yeah, let's try it that way. Can you bring it forward just a little bit so it's a little bigger
Hmm.
within that frame without,
I could have sworn that I redid this. Well,
yeah, that's great. There we go. Okay.
okay.
Okay, so we're going to do a split screen with Yama, the Lord of Death, which is what is the split screen all the time. We're just not aware of it, and that's the point of this, which this mandala is if you go into a Tibetan monastery, I think, well, I don't know, but many, most, in particular Tibetan monasteries that are oriented towards lay people, this is at the outside of before you go into the temple, and it's a teaching about pay attention. This is how we get caught. This is how we create suffering. And there is, if you'll notice, there's lots of space around it. There's blue sky and clouds. So I'm going to start with reading you something from Awakening from the Daydream, Reimagining the Buddha's Wheel of Life by David Nichtern, who is a student of Trungpa. Trungpa, uh, I think, taught pretty extensively on this Wheel of Life. Origins and Message of the Wheel. The Wheel of Life uses traditional Buddhist cosmological imagery to convey its allegory. There are six distinct realms within the wheel. You can see um, kind of in the middle, the bigger portion of the wheel is the six realms. And that's what we'll turn towards going forward. Each realm represents a particular state of mind that shapes and limits our notions of what is real and what is possible. Our minds and our external situations mirror each other in the process, structuring our basic psychology. So, in other words, we are creating and co creating and being created by the world and our projections all the time. What waking up is practice. Tradition says that the Buddha directed the creation of the original wheel painting, which he had commissioned as a gift to teach Dharma to an Indian king. When the king who received the painting contemplated it and fully understood its meaning, he attained enlightenment. He brought the suffering caused by unconscious habitual patterns to an end. So here we're studying what is unconscious. We're conscious, and we can be conscious and wake up consciously to our habitual patterns, our habitual human delusions, ignorance. But the unconscious is happening so far below, and it happens so fast. So, this is to help us uncover and see the pickle we're all in, and that it's possible to transform it. Since then, the wheel has been painted countless times and has become a standard image displayed at the entryway to all Buddhist temples all over Asia. So, all Buddhist temples. The image has remained popular down through the ages because it makes subtle Buddhist teachings about the working of the mind accessible to the lay masses. The image of the wheel survives not just because it sustains tradition, but because the message it conveys is powerful and timelessly relevant. In modern terms, we might think of the wheel as a kind of PowerPoint presentation. It is a precise collection of information-rich points that provide a comprehensive overview of our existential state. Karma is the overarching theme of the wheel image. Karma does not mean something bad. It's not like this karmic ball that you're dragging along with you. It means action or work, that each action has a cause and an effect. Pay attention. Karma describes how our world works, how different realities come into being, and how they change. The agent behind the work of karma is the mind. All the habitual thoughts, perspectives, and impulses that drive our behavior and experience. Karma explains how we became who we were in the past, how we become who we are now, and how we become who we will be in the future. The working of karma is a mostly unconditional process. Our habits are shaped by past experiences, which in turn shape our present behavior, such as we find ourselves facing similar situations in the present. It's always very humbling to have insights into how much we're shaping our reality through our perceptions. And we can have individual creations, we have societal creations. We can see right now what's happening in our culture and around race, and we are creating the world out of our past prejudices, our past conditioning, and we can change this. We can wake up together. We need to wake up together for the sake of all beings. The repetition of unproductive patterns, the cycle of familiar mental and behavioral landscapes is what is called samsara. So this wheel of life is the wheel of samsara. Samsara means wandering. It has the sense of just kind of wandering and being pushed around by this and by that, and we blame it on somebody else, or we think, where did that come from? But in fact, if you look really deeply and all the way through to the roots, we are not helpless or victims in this. The wheel of life breaks our wandering in samsara down into 6 distinct realms and helps us see how human beings have been caught across time, will continue to be caught across time, because not because there's anything wrong, but because of our inherent perception of duality. And we can wake up. We have to wake up. That's the good news of this time. If you wake up, it helps me wake up. As I wake up, it helps you wake up. And in a mysterious way, while we go round and round in this little hamster wheel of birth and death, the world is already open and free. That's our job, is to find out who we truly are and what the truth of existence is. So, let's see. Well, this is up. So if Yama is the Lord of Death, he's the fierce looking one who has all of this in his grips. And one might say fundamentally, Yama is, because Yama is the Lord of Death, one might say it's our fear body. All the ways that we distract ourselves from the three marks, which I'll say more about, the three fundamental marks of Buddhism, which is impermanence, no self, and the nature of suffering, or the nature of freedom. So within that, this wheel goes round and round, and it's kind of fun to imagine it not just as flat the way it's depicted, but as multi-dimensional, so that all of these different wheels are all turning at different times depending on whatever the causes or conditions are that trigger your particular fear body. And again, as we sit down with this fear body in our Buddha body, in our Zazen body, in the open blue sky around it, it ceases to have as much power over us. So the outer ring, the narrow ring around the outside are the 12 links. I spent a lot of time yesterday trying to figure out how to say this simply and decided there wasn't any, so I'm just going to say it really simply. Another name for it is dependent arising or interdependent co-arising, and the basic is there is cause and effect. Dogen, my understanding of Dogen is in the beginning of his teaching as a young man, or who knows how old he was, is his teaching was there wasn't cause and effect. He went more to the absolute, because in the absolute there is nothing linear. This happens, then that happens, then that happens. It's 100 million thousand causes and conditions creating this moment. And towards the end of his life, when he was teaching, he really strenuously said, there is cause and effect. Follow the precepts. Pay attention. The fundamental teaching in this is, from the Buddha, if this exists, that exists. If this happens, that happens. But if this ceases to exist, that ceases to exist. So waking up in the moment, karma will continue to drive us. And then we'll keep thinking it's something else or it's outside. But as we wake up, as we can temper or tame or become more aware is better in the midst of our habitual propulsive activity and mind states, everything, this whole wheel calms down. So the way to enter and transform this outer ring and all of this is through practice. If you move then into the next realm you can see that there are 6 realms in there. The 6 realms are the realm of the God, the jealous God, the humans, animals, hungry ghosts, and hell realms. One of the things that took me back to this wheel of life is there's a new book out about hungry ghosts. And it's very enlightening and humbling. We are living always in a time of hungry ghosts, but my goodness, there are a lot of hungry ghosts wandering around in all of us right now. So I think that will be fun to turn towards. The wonderful thing about each of these 6 realms, and in this one, if you look carefully, it's not in every wheel of life, but you can see in this particular one is that there's a Buddha or a Bodhisattva in each one, so that there is always practice and hope and bodhicitta and love and awakening, no matter how deep our confusion or how dire a lifetime might seem. So throughout this, there is always the beauty of practice and the Bodhisattva vow. Then if you move into the next ring in, which is the light and the dark, the light is people going up and the dark is people going down. So we are moving between up and down through each of these realms all the time and mind states. We might think, oh, my mind feels so peaceful and happy right now. And the next moment we could be down in some kind of personal hell realm or walked out onto the street and experience homelessness in the hell realm that people are living in an actual way every day. So this is also turning. And then simultaneously, in the very center is the root obscurations or the root of ignorance, which isn't an insult. It's just this is where we get caught. And if you pay attention, it is the greed, hate, and delusion. Greed being depicted, who knows why the ancients picked this as a chicken or a rooster, is wanting what we want. When it's transformed, the desire just becomes the desire to wake up, the desire to love and be kind. The snake is a symbol of aggression or hate. When it's transformed into patience. And the pig, again, I apologize for all of these. I like pigs, but the ancient peoples depicted pigs as ignorance. I suppose they kind of saw them maybe wallowing around in the mud. Now we know much more about pigs, but pigs are waking up to who they always were, which is wise and spacious and compassionate beings that they are and that we are. Okay, so let's take this down for now. Oh, let me just, for 1 minute before you take it down, it's not on this one, but on many. If you look on the left side, here it's a cloud. But often there's Amitabha Buddha up there, which is the Buddha of the Pure Land, which is this world is a pure land of love and kindness. It's our job to become it. The one I looked at the other day also had, for some of you were here for the Jataka tale of the rabbit in the moon, the rabbit sacrificing wholeheartedly giving its whole life for the benefit of all beings. That would be what might be on the left side. And if you look on the right side, it's a big cloud, but in many depictions, it's a Buddha. And it's a Buddha pointing down, saying, wake up. This is where you're practicing. This isn't a problem. It's here to be transformed for everyone. Okay, let's take that down. Thanks, Debbie. So, I was trying to figure out how to do this in a way in a short amount of time didn't overwhelm us. And I went to lots of different commentaries, and in the end, who I came to was Pema Chodron, which I haven't turned to for a long time. And I was really moved once again by how much Pema, who's in Trungpa's lineage, can articulate very complicated things in a very simple and direct way. So I wanted to bring forward some of the concepts in this Wheel of Life through Pema's words. And we'll see where we land. Karma. She says someplace here, let me just see if I can find it in her commentary. Something about, every action has a result. One could give a whole seminar on the law of karma. I was going to say, we could spend lifetimes on the law of karma. But fundamentally, in our everyday life, it's a reminder that it's important how we live. Particularly, it's important at the level of the mind. Every time you're willing to acknowledge your thoughts and let them go, and come back to the freshness of the present moment, You're sowing seeds of wakefulness in your consciousness. That's what we do in Zazen. We sit with it, awake, thoughts come, thoughts go. We notice we get caught, we come back. Practice, continuous practice. And then after a while, what comes up is a more wakeful, more open thought. You're conditioning yourself towards openness rather than sleepiness, rather than walking through the daydream. We wake up, we fall asleep. Falling asleep isn't the problem. It's falling asleep is to be transformed into wakeful. You couldn't have wakefulness without sleepiness, right? It's all part of Buddha's body, heart, mind. In order to change our habits and burn up the seeds of aggression, we have to develop an appetite for what I, Pema, like to call positive groundlessness or positive insecurity. If at any moment of feeling guilty, insecure, and troubled, you were to pause and let go of the words and start breathing slowly and deeply, you could let the whole drama of the wheel of life unwind and unravel. That's all. Just notice, come back, breathe. This wheel of life is pulsating, alive, and filled with infinite space and breath and love and awakening. The Dharma can heal our wounds, our very ancient wounds that come not from original sin, but from a misunderstanding so old, an ancient misunderstanding. It's so old that we can no longer see it. The instruction is to sit compassionately with where we find ourselves and to begin to see our predicament as workable. Just sit, just stay, just come back. We are stuck in patterns of grasping and fixating which cause the same thoughts and reactions to occur again and again and again. This is not your personal problem. I mean, it is. You have to take responsibility for it. Because it's not because there's anything inherently wrong with you. The same thoughts and reactions occur again and again and again, and in this way we project our world. And when we see that, then we'll naturally discover the knack of reversing this process of making things solid, putting down our centuries of baggage and stepping into new territory. This has never been more urgent. Okay. Going on with Pema a little bit more, the 3 marks of existence. She calls them the 3 facts of life. This is where we go astray. The Buddha taught that there are 3 principal characteristics of existence: impermanence, egolessness, and suffering or dissatisfaction. The lives of all beings, you, me, all beings, are marked by these 3 qualities. Recognizing these to be real and true in our own experience helps us to relax with things as they are. Study impermanence. Go outside and watch summer turning into fall, happening right before your eyes. Light changing. I mean, these are all the more noticeable. It's just impermanence. Study it. Egolessness, no solid self. Who are you that you keep putting yourself back in a little, well, we said when we came on, little black boxes. Who are you really? And suffering or dissatisfaction, how much when we're happy, we're afraid it's going to be taken away, or we want to hold on to it, or When we're unhappy, we think it's never going to end. Nirvana being just accepting things as it is, moving, changing, wondrously flashing in and out of existence. Nothing is static or fixed, and everything is fleeting and impermanent, is the ordinary state of affairs. Everything is in process. Everything, every tree, every blade of grass, all the animals, insects, human beings, buildings, animate and inanimate, is always changing moment to moment. It means that life isn't always going to go our way. Oh, so much suffering. It means that there is loss as well as gain, and we don't like that. And then she says, often peace is taught as the fourth mark of existence. This isn't the peace that's the opposite of war. It's the well-being that comes when we can see the infinite pairs of opposites as complementary. Without this, there wouldn't be that. Without this, there isn't that. Wisdom and ignorance cannot be separated. Cultivating moment-to-moment curiosity, we might just find this kind of peace dawns on us. Dwelling happily in things as they are, which is nirvana. So the innermost circle, the three poisons, the three root causes of suffering. You can see the amazing thing about these kinds of teachings is all of the Buddhist path is incorporated in this wheel of life. It's why the Buddha, who knows what really happened, but the Buddha brought forth these images, and they were painted, and they were given to the king, and they're put on every temple wall. You don't have to be a scholar. You can be. You don't have to be high or low or smart or dumb, or there's something potent in this symbolism that I think we can all take in our bodies. The three poisons, attachment, aversion, and ignorance, are the primary ways that the mind reacts in its mistaken attempt to create, consolidate, and defend a separate sense of self. A mind that is under the influence of one of these or one of the myriad other mind poisons or kleshas, which are negative emotions, it's Sanskrit, is afflicted, restless, and constricted. Pema calls this fixed mind. You probably have some sense of what it feels like when you're in a fixed mind. And it seems to me it's a little bit like Yama hanging on that way. It's constricted. Nothing feels like it's turning or moving. The three poisons are always trapping you in one way or another, imprisoning you and making your world really small. When you feel craving, you could be sitting at the edge of the Grand Canyon and all you see is this piece of chocolate cake that you're craving. With aversion, you're sitting on the edge of the Grand Canyon and all you hear is the angry words you said to someone 10 years ago. Oh, Linda says connection. Is anybody else having connection? No? Well, we'll just keep going and see what happens. With ignorance, you're sitting on the edge of the Grand Canyon with a paper bag over your head. It's funny and it's very humbling. Each of the three poisons has the power to capture you so completely that you don't even perceive what's in front of you. Might happen to you from time to time. Happens to me from time to time. And we wake up right here. it is said that all deep satisfaction, all happiness, all spiritual growth, all feeling of being alive and engaged in the world happens in this realm of dynamic flow, which is the truth of everything, a dynamic flow. And it is practice is connecting with the fluid, changing flow of things. That's why Zazen is so sweet. I mean, there are just moments where there's just deep stillness, and you can just feel things moving, like clouds in an endless sky. You don't have to push it away or grab hold of it. You just sit rooted and grounded. Buddha body. Sense of wonder and curiosity. Emotions arise, likes, dislikes. There are moments. Someone said to me, I think I said this on Tuesday, someone, a long-term practitioner, said to me this week, is that within each period of Zazen, there are moments of enlightenment, just like, and then, of course, everything else keeps moving, keeps changing. It's not good, bad, or otherwise, but there are just moments of, oh, this is what the Buddha is pointing at. Always has been, always will be. We get to taste the truth of the Tathagata's words. Then she says, in some way, all of us are at least 5-minute fundamentalists. In other words, where we fix it and we freeze it. I've got my view over here, and I'm absolutely sure it's right and you're wrong, or whatever your language is. Rather than being with the flow, we have a fixed view of somebody else, a fixed view of a brother or a partner, a fixed view of ourselves, a fixed view of a situation. There's so much clunkiness in the whole thing. If you think about it, fixing and freezing is so boring compared to the real morphing quality of things. We make it small. Then we wonder why we're dissatisfied. In post-meditation, that's her language, when the poisons of passion, aggression, and ignorance arise, the instruction is drop the storyline. Just let it go. You've got some kind of story going on in your mind. Instead of acting out or repressing, you use the poison as an opportunity to feel our heart, to feel the wound, and to connect with others who suffer in the same way. We can use the poison as an opportunity to contact bodhicitta, our bodhisattva heart. A deep yearning to awaken with and for all beings. In this way, the poison already is the medicine. When we don't act out and we don't repress, don't act out. You don't have to act it out, but you don't have to repress it. You just sit right on this alive edge. Our passion, our aggression, and our ignorance becomes our wealth. We don't have to transform anything. Simply letting go of the storyline is what it takes, which is not all that easy. Used to use Pema a lot when I worked with veterans. You can imagine coming out of war and combat. How many places there are to get caught. To just not ignore, not repress, but just be willing to sit. Why we need Sangha, why we need practice. Just to be able to sit on this vulnerable, tender edge of alive together is where it turns. It's where healing and transformation happens. And just a little bit more about samsara and nirvana. We think, well, it's so easy to think, well, samsara is a real bummer. I would really like to get out of here. And nirvana, oh, it must be peaceful and still. And I would be a really kind and giving person. Wouldn't be any of these complicated thoughts or messiness or, and even when we know there's no separation, we do this all the time. Samsara and nirvana are beautiful turning of Buddha's world, Buddha's heart, Buddha's body. Pema says, I would like to talk about not preferring samsara or nirvana. If you want to pare phenomena down, all there would be is stillness and occurrence. Rising and passing, but happening so fast, 100,000 million causes and conditions arising and passing, but it's simultaneous. So you can't even begin to grok it or cognize it. We are so beautifully clunky, we human beings, in this world of miracles and wonder. Everything is continually born out of space and returns to space. Sometimes it's called the background and the foreground. Suzuki Roshi called it, oh, sorry about Linda, big-minded, small mind. I love just thinking that we're sitting this fear body down in the Buddha body, in a bodhisattva body, and it's breathing together. In samsara, we continually try to get away from the pain by seeking pleasure. And in doing so, we just keep going round and round. The other neurosis is to get caught up by peace and quiet, or liberation or freedom. I had it. It's got to be right here. I'll just keep trying really hard. That is what a lot of addiction is about, wanting to feel good forever. But it usually ends up not working out. In order for us to be fully present, to experience life fully, we need to acknowledge and accept all our emotions and all parts of ourselves. I think I'll say that again, forever. In order for us to be fully present, alive, bodhisattva human beings, the Buddhas that we already are, we need to acknowledge and accept all our emotions and all parts of ourselves. The embarrassing parts, as well as our anger, our rage, our jealousy, our envy, our self-pity, and all of these chaotic emotions that sweep us away. Looking for an exit from experiencing the full range of our humanity. The full range of our humanity. How am I going to understand you as a human being if I don't know these things in myself? To be fully and truly human is to be awake, is nirvana. Looking for an exit from experiencing the full range of our humanity leads to all kinds of pain and suffering. Meditation gives us the opportunity to experience our emotions naked and fresh and free from the labels of right or wrong, or should or shouldn't. It is very helpful. This is the Buddha pointing. It is very helpful to realize that being here, sitting in meditation, doing simple things, everyday things like working, walking outside, talking with people, bathing, using the toilet, and eating is actually all that we need to be fully awake, fully alive, fully human. It's also helpful to realize that this body that we have and this mind that we have at this very moment are exactly what we need to be fully human. You scored this wheel of life. It's exactly what we need to be fully human, fully awake, and fully alive. Furthermore, the emotions we have right now, the negativity and the positivity, are what we exactly need. One of the major obstacles to what is traditionally called enlightenment, or accepting things as it is resentment. It's one of the Lojong teachings. Study what provokes or ignites resentment. It will humble you a lot. Resentment, feeling cheated, holding a grudge about who you are, where you are, and what you are. And when we awaken our hearts, we're changing the whole pattern, but not by creating a new pattern. We are moving further and further away from concretizing and making things so solid and always trying to get some ground under our feet. This moving away from comfort and security, this stepping out into what is unknown, uncharted, and shaky, that's called enlightenment or freedom. Now is the time. Not some future time. Now is the time, and now is the only time. We got everything we need. This is very good news. Even as Yama has us in his grips, we're also completely free. So maybe we'll stay together today, and we could talk about any of this. Someone on Tuesday, when we were looking at the Wheel of Life, talked about, what came up was grandmotherly mind. In the Tibetan tradition, there's something called grandmotherly advice. Just simple, practical, earthy words from a little old lady who's been there, or a little old man who's been there. Dogen, at the end of his life, Dogen, who was very smart, very committed, an amazing practitioner, at the end, he said, it's all about grandmotherly mind. That's a koan for me, is what is this grandmotherly mind and how do we live it? Somehow, as practitioners, the more expectation and ambition we have, the more disappointment and irritation we're likely to experience. Some of the least helpful instructions you can ever give a new meditator is just quiet your mind and relax. My husband says he thinks that's why a lot of people don't meditate, or they try it a few times and they think, oh man, I am a complete failure. It is so noisy in here. I never knew how noisy it was in here until I started meditating. It's ay, 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 ay. So many people are hopeful that meditation will bring them tranquility and ease and peace and joy. But what about our pain, our confusion, our turbulence? Where are we going to put all those things? Meditation includes boredom, irritation, discomfort, frustration, grasping, aggression, discursive waterfall of thoughts and emotions coming and going, and perhaps occasionally a sense of peace and acceptance of things as they are. It can also include insight, awareness, stability, and delight. In a nutshell, it can and will include all the aspects of who you are and what our lives are actually made of. Along the way, though, if we practice diligently, we are likely to develop insight into how our minds work and how we get lost in the 6 realms and the turnings of the wheel of life. It is a gradual process. patience and effort will ultimately be more patience and effort will ultimately be more valuable than ambition. And it is best to take a gentle, friendly attitude towards ourselves right from the very beginning. Okay, Bodhisattva.